I find her in the garden at dawn, kneeling in the dirt with both hands pressed against my son's face. Ethan sits perfectly still, his sightless eyes closed, his breathing steady. Clara, the maid I hired 3 weeks ago, whispers something I can't hear. Her thumbs move in small circles on his temples. What are you doing? My voice cuts across the morning air. She doesn't startle, doesn't remove her hands, just keeps that gentle pressure, that whispered rhythm. Teaching him to see, she says. The audacity stops my breath. The best ophthalmologist in the world examined my son. Congenital optic nerve hypoplasia. Bilateral. Irreversible. 7 specialists gave the same verdict. Ethan will never have vision. And this woman, this maid with her 2 years of community college and her thrift store clothes, thinks she knows better? Step away from my son, I say. She finally looks at me. Her eyes are dark, calm, carrying something I can't name. Mr. Morrison, she says quietly, when your son touches my face, what do you think he feels? 3 weeks earlier, the agency sends her on a Tuesday. I'm interviewing my 7th candidate for household staff when Clara Williams walks into my Malibu estate carrying a single bag and wearing shoes that have been resold twice. I'm here about the position, she says. Mrs. Hendricks, my house manager, looks her up and down with barely concealed disapproval. The maid position requires live-in availability, extensive childcare experience, and impeccable references. I have all 3. Clara hands over a folder. I glance at the references while Mrs. Hendricks reviews credentials. Previous employers described Clara as attentive, intuitive, extraordinary with children. But there's something else in these letters. A quality between the lines. Why did you leave your last position? I ask. The child didn't need me anymore. Meaning I taught her what she needed to know. Strange answer. But Ethan has been through 4 caregivers in 6 months. Each one left after realizing that caring for a blind 7-year-old takes more than patience. It takes belief that he can have a real life despite what doctors say. Most people don't have that belief. My son is blind, I tell her bluntly. Completely. Permanently. The condition is congenital optic nerve hypoplasia, she finishes. I read the file you sent the agency. Then you understand there's no cure. No treatment. No hope of vision. Something flickers in her expression. I understand what doctors told you. What's that supposed to mean? It means doctors see what they measure. Sometimes the immeasurable matters more. Mrs. Hendricks makes a small sound of disapproval. I should dismiss this woman immediately. Her presumption borders on insulting. But something stops me. Maybe it's the steady way she meets my eyes. Maybe it's the fact that I'm desperate. Maybe it's because she's the first person who didn't look at me with pity when I mentioned Ethan's blindness. You can start Monday, I hear myself say. Clara arrives with the sunrise. Ethan is at the breakfast table, eating Cheerios with his fingers, counting each one before it goes in his mouth. A habit his occupational therapist encouraged. Texture awareness. Spatial orientation. All the therapies that teach him to navigate a world he'll never see. Good morning, Ethan, Clara says. My name is Clara. I'm going to be helping take care of you. Ethan's head turns toward her voice. Are you nice? I try to be. Are you? He considers this. Sometimes. Daddy says I'm stubborn. Stubborn means you know what you want. That's good. She sits beside him without asking, without the careful distance other caregivers maintain. She takes a Cheerio from the box. What shape is this? She asks. Circle. Ethan says automatically. Are you sure? His brow furrows. His fingers reach out, find the Cheerio she's holding. He traces it carefully. It's a circle, he insists. What if I told you it's a tunnel? Silence. A tunnel. Ethan whispers. A circle is flat. But if you think deeper, if you imagine going through it, it becomes a tunnel. Same shape, different truth. I watch this exchange from the doorway, coffee growing cold in my hand. What is she doing? Ethan takes the Cheerio, turns it in his fingers. His face transforms with wonder. It is a tunnel, he breathes. Clara smiles. The world is full of things that are more than what they seem. You just have to learn a different way of seeing. Over the next week, I watch her work. She doesn't treat Ethan like he's broken, doesn't simplify the world for him. Instead, she complicates it in ways that make him think, question, explore. She takes him to the garden and makes him identify plants by touch and smell. She plays music and asks him what color it sounds like. She describes paintings in the house not by what they show, but by what they feel like. This one is angry, she says, standing before a Jackson Pollock. All sharp edges and splatters. Like someone threw their frustration at the canvas. Ethan reaches toward it. His fingers hover an inch from the surface. Can I touch? No, I interrupt. That painting is worth $4 million. Clara doesn't look at me. Is it worth more than teaching your son to understand beauty? The question hangs in the air. I should fire her. Her insubordination is constant. Her methods are unorthodox. She undermines every expert recommendation I've followed. But Ethan is different with her. He laughs more, asks questions, moves through the house with new confidence. So I watch, and I wonder what she sees that I've missed. On day 12, I find them in my study. Clara has taken down my medical textbooks, the ones I consulted obsessively after Ethan's diagnosis, trying to understand optic nerve development, trying to find hope in scientific literature. The doctors are wrong. Ethan announces when he hears me enter. My stomach drops. What? Clara says the doctors are wrong. She says I can see. I turn to her, fury rising. You told him that? No, she says calmly. I told him there are different kinds of seeing. Don't play semantic games with my son's disability. I'm not. She stands, meeting my anger with that infuriating calm. Your son's eyes don't work. That's a fact. But vision and sight aren't the same thing. They're exactly the same thing. Are they? She gestures to the textbooks. You've read all of these. You understand the biology. But do you see your son? How dare you? Do you see that he's learned the house layout perfectly? That he can identify people by footstep and breathing pattern? That he experiences beauty through texture and sound and story? Those are compensations, I say tightly. Adaptations, not vision. Why not? Her voice rises for the first time. Why does seeing have to mean eyes? Why can't it mean experiencing the world fully, joyfully, completely, just differently? Ethan's hand finds mine. Daddy, I can see you. The words crack something in my chest. How? I whisper. Your hand is rough. Your voice is tired. You smell like coffee, and you walk heavy. I see all of it. Clara watches me with eyes that carry a weight I suddenly recognize. She's been here before. She's had this argument. She's lost someone to the narrow definition of what's possible. And she's fighting to make sure my son doesn't lose himself the same way. I corner Clara in the kitchen after putting Ethan to bed. Tell me the truth, I demand. What are you really doing with my son? She's washing dishes, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. I'm teaching him that his diagnosis isn't his destiny. The medical science is clear. Medical science said my daughter would never walk. Her hands still in the soapy water. Cerebral palsy. Severe spasticity. Every doctor agreed. Physical impossibility. My anger falters. What happened? I didn't believe them. She turns to face me, water dripping from her fingers. I spent 3 years doing physical therapy they said was pointless. Exercises they called cruel because I was giving her false hope. And on her 8th birthday, she took 6 steps. 6 steps isn't walking. 6 steps is everything when you were promised 0. Her voice shakes. She's 14 now. She'll never run marathons. She uses a walker. But she moves through the world on her own terms. And you think Ethan can do the same? I think Ethan is already doing it. You're just not letting yourself see. I grip the counter. Every specialist confirmed. Specialists measure what exists. They don't imagine what's possible. She dries her hands. Mr. Morrison, your son will never have biological vision. But he's developing something rarer, a way of experiencing reality that most sighted people never achieve. He's learning to see with everything he is. That's philosophy, not medicine. Maybe that's the problem. The next morning, I watch them in the garden again. Clara has Ethan kneeling in the soil, hands buried in earth. She's describing root systems, how plants see with their roots, how they communicate through fungal networks, how they experience their world through chemical signals and environmental feedback. They're blind like me, Ethan says, wonder in his voice. They're aware like you, Clara corrects. Different sensing systems. Same consciousness. She places his hands on a tomato plant. What does this one tell you? Ethan is quiet, concentrating. His fingers move gently across leaves, stem, soil. It's thirsty, and something ate part of a leaf. And it's trying to grow toward something warm. The sun, Clara confirms. This plant sees the sun with its whole body. Every cell orienting toward light. That's vision, Ethan. Just not with eyes. I should stop this. This anthropomorphizing of plants, this redefining of medical terms, this dangerous expansion of hope. But Ethan's face is radiant. He's not learning to be blind. He's learning to be extraordinary. That afternoon, Dr. Patricia Chun arrives for Ethan's quarterly evaluation. She's been his primary ophthalmologist since birth, brilliant, compassionate, and ruthlessly honest about his prognosis. She runs her standard tests: light perception, visual field, eye movement tracking. No change, she tells me in my office afterward. As expected, the optic nerves simply aren't transmitting signals to the brain. I understand. However, she pauses. His spatial awareness scores are remarkably high. His ability to construct mental maps of his environment is significantly above average for blind children his age. His new caregiver has been working with him. Dr. Chen's expression sharpens. What kind of work? Sensory integration. Teaching him to synthesize information from multiple sources. That's excellent. But I hope she's not suggesting that he might see. She's very clear about the difference between vision and sight. Dr. Chen relaxes slightly. Good. Because false hope in these cases can be devastating. Parents who chase miracle cures, experimental treatments, faith healers, they waste precious time their children could spend developing real adaptive skills. After she leaves, I find Clara reading to Ethan in the library. Not a children's book. She's reading him Oliver Sacks, The Mind's Eye, about people who lose vision and develop extraordinary compensatory abilities. Why this book? I asked. Because he should know his brain is capable of miracles, Clara says. Just not the miracle you originally wanted. The observation cuts deep. She's right. I've spent 7 years mourning the son I thought I'd have. The one who'd see sunsets and read books and recognize my face. I've been so focused on what Ethan lost that I've missed what he's gaining. A different way of being in the world. Richer in some ways. More textured. More deeply felt. Teach me, I say abruptly. Clara looks up. What? Teach me to see him the way you do. She starts that evening. Close your eyes, she instructs. Keep them closed. Now navigate to the kitchen. I stand in my own living room, suddenly disoriented. I know this space perfectly. I've lived here 5 years. But without vision, it becomes foreign. I take a step. Another. My shin hits the coffee table. You're leading with sight memory, Clara says. Stop trying to picture it. Feel it. I try again. This time I notice the slight temperature change near the windows. The way sound reflects differently off glass versus drywall. The textural shift from hardwood to tile. I make it to the kitchen without injury. Now, Clara says, keep your eyes closed and make coffee. It takes 20 minutes. I spill grounds twice. Burn my hand on the pot. But I do it. When I finally open my eyes, Clara is smiling. That's what Ethan does constantly. Every task is a puzzle requiring complete presence. He can't zone out, can't do things on autopilot. He's more aware in any given moment than most sighted people are all day. I look at my coffee, mediocre, messy, triumphant. You're teaching him to be present, I realize. I'm teaching him that his way of experiencing the world is valid, that different isn't broken. What about when he asks about colors? About faces? About everything he can't? He doesn't ask about what he can't have, Clara interrupts. He asks about what things mean, and meaning doesn't require eyes. A week later, my ex-wife visits. Rebecca left when Ethan was 2. Unable to handle the diagnosis, the prognosis, the permanent disruption of the perfect family she'd envisioned. She sees him quarterly, always uncomfortable, always relieved to leave. He seems different, she says, watching Ethan and Clara in the garden. He's happy. He's always been happy. She struggles for words. He's confident. We watch Clara place Ethan's hands on a bird's nest, empty, safe to touch. She describes the architecture, the engineering, the instinctive genius of creatures who build without blueprints. She's good with him, Rebecca admits. She sees him. We all see him, Nathan. Do we? I turn to her. Or do we see his disability? Rebecca's face tightens. That's not fair. When you look at our son, what do you see? Silence. I see a tragedy, she finally whispers. I see everything we lost. Everything he'll never have. Clara sees everything he is. Rebecca wipes her eyes. I can't. I don't know how to do that. Neither did I, but I'm learning. That night, I find Clara sitting alone in the garden, her face turned towards stars she's not looking at. Tell me about your daughter. I say. She's quiet for a long moment. Her name is Faith. She's brilliant, stubborn, kind. She wants to be a marine biologist. Because, Clara corrects. Because she spent her life developing patience, observation skills, determination. The same qualities that make her disabled make her extraordinary. Do you wish she could walk normally? Every day? But not because her life would be better, because it would be easier. There's a difference. I sit beside her. I wish Ethan could see. I know. Not because his life isn't valuable, but because you're human, Clara says gently. Because you love him. Because grief and acceptance aren't opposites. They coexist. We sit in silence, watching the night. Why do you do this work? I finally ask. Because someone did it for me. She looks at me now. When Faith was 3, a physical therapist told me something I'll never forget. Your daughter's body works differently. That doesn't mean it works wrong. Stop trying to fix her and start trying to understand her. That changed everything. A window opens above us. Ethan's voice drifts down. Clara? Are you there? I'm here, she calls back. I can't sleep. Will you tell me about the ocean? She stands, smiling. I'll be right up. I watch her go. This woman who sees miracles in different forms. Who teaches children that their worth isn't measured by typical standards. Who's teaching me the same lesson. The breakthrough happens on a Wednesday. Clara and Ethan are in the music room. She's playing piano, Debussy, Clair de Lune, while Ethan listens with his hands pressed against the instrument's frame, feeling vibrations. What do you see? She asks. Water, he says immediately. Moonlight on water. Silver and blue and moving. I freeze in the doorway. You see colors? Clara prompts gently. Not CC, but I know what they are. Silver is cold and bright. Blue is deep and calm. They move together like. He struggles for words. Like they're dancing. Clara's hands pause on the keys. Ethan, that's synesthesia. You're translating sound into visual concepts. Is that okay? It's extraordinary. I step into the room. How is that possible? Clara turns. His brain is rewiring. Without visual input, it's repurposing those neural pathways, creating cross-sensory experiences. He's not seeing in the traditional sense, but he's experiencing visual phenomena through other channels. That's not in any of the medical literature. It's in the literature on neuroplasticity, on sensory substitution, on the brain's remarkable ability to adapt. She stands, excited now. Mr. Morrison, your son is developing capabilities most people don't have. He's experiencing music as color, texture as emotion, space as relationship. He's seeing everything, just not with his eyes. Ethan reaches for my hand. Daddy, play the song again. I want to show you the colors. I sit at the piano, something I haven't done since college. My fingers find the opening notes of Clair de Lune, rusty but recognizable. Ethan's face transforms. There, he breathes. Do you see it? The silver is lighter now because you're playing softer. And the blue gets darker when the notes go lower. He's right. He's describing the exact emotional quality of the chord progressions. My hands shake on the keys. Keep playing, Clara urges. He needs you to see it too. So I play. And I watch my son experience music as a visual symphony. And I understand, finally, what Clara's been trying to tell me. Ethan isn't broken. He's just different. And different is extraordinary. Dr. Chun returns the following week for an unscheduled visit. I've been reviewing Ethan's case, she says. And I've consulted with colleagues about his cognitive development. We'd like to run some additional tests. What kind of tests? Brain imaging. We want to see how his visual cortex is functioning. There's emerging research on blind individuals who develop remarkable compensatory mechanisms. He has synesthesia. I interrupt. He experiences music as visual information. Dr. Chin's eyes widen. You've observed this directly? Multiple times. Clara's been documenting it. She asks to see the documentation. Clara provides detailed notes, songs played, colors described, patterns observed. It's meticulous, scientific, undeniable. This is remarkable, Dr. Chin says. I'd like to write this up as a case study, with your permission. This kind of neural adaptation in congenital blindness is rare and poorly understood. Will it help other blind children? Ethan asked from the doorway. Dr. Chin smiles. It might help us understand how extraordinary the human brain can be. Then yes, Ethan decides. You can study me. The case study takes 3 months. Brain scans reveal that Ethan's visual cortex, supposedly non-functional, has reorganized to process auditory and tactile information. He's literally seeing with sound, creating mental images that correlate with musical patterns. Dr. Chun presents findings at a neuroscience conference. Ethan becomes patient E in medical literature. Researchers request interviews. Your son is rewriting our understanding of sensory processing, Dr. Chin tells me. But Ethan doesn't care about that. He cares that he can identify birds by song and see their colors. He cares that he can navigate the garden blindfolded and describe the visual texture of rose petals. He cares that his world is rich and full and completely his own. Clara did that. Not by fixing him. By teaching him he didn't need fixing. 6 months after Clara started, I find her packing. What are you doing? My job is finished, she says simply. Ethan doesn't need me anymore. Panic rises in my chest. That's not. We need you. He needs you. Clara interrupts. He needs his father to see him the way I do. And you already do, Mr. Morrison. You've learned. She's right. I have learned. I've learned to describe paintings through emotion instead of appearance. To play music and ask what colors emerge. To walk through the garden and identify plants by scent and texture. I've learned to see my son as he is, not as a tragedy, but as a miracle of adaptation. Stay anyway, I say, not as his caregiver. As, I don't know how to finish. What is she to us? The woman who saved my son, who taught me to be his father, who transformed our understanding of what's possible. As family, I finish quietly. Clara's eyes shimmer. I can't. Faith needs me. And there are other children who need what I learned. Other families who are grieving abilities their children never had instead of celebrating the ones they're developing. Then teach me to do what you do, so I can help them too. She smiles. You already are, Mr. Morrison. Every day you choose to see Ethan as whole, you're teaching him to see himself that way. That's the work. That's all it ever was. Clara leaves on a Sunday morning. Ethan doesn't cry. He stands tall, holding her hands, his face serious. You taught me to see, he says. You taught yourself, Clara corrects. I just gave you permission. Will I see you again? You'll see me every time you close your eyes and experience the world as it truly is, full of wonder and color and possibility. She hugs him. Then she picks up her single bag and walks toward the car. I follow her to the driveway. Thank you, I say, for everything. Thank you for trusting me, for being willing to learn. Clara, I stop her before she gets in the car. That first morning, in the garden, when I asked what you were doing, I was teaching him that his hands can see, she says. That touch carries information vision misses. That the world reveals itself to those who ask the right questions. And the right question is? Not what's wrong with him, but what's extraordinary about him. She drives away. Ethan and I stand in the driveway, watching her go. Daddy, Ethan says, will you play piano with me? What do you want to hear? Something new. Something I haven't seen yet. We go inside. I sit at the piano. Ethan sits beside me, his hands on the frame, his face expectant. I play Chopin, then Gershwin. Then I improvise, creating melodies that make Ethan's face light up with colors only he can see. What do you see? I ask. Purple, he breathes. And gold. They're swirling together like when you stir honey into tea. He's right. The musical movement creates exactly that kind of flowing, blending sensation. My son sees things I'll never see. And that's not a tragedy. That's a gift. 1 year later, I've partnered with Clara's Foundation. We train caregivers to recognize extraordinary abilities in children with disabilities. We fund research on neuroplasticity and sensory adaptation. We publish stories about kids like Ethan who experience the world in ways science barely understands. Ethan is 8 now. He's learning Braille, studying music theory, and teaching his classmates at the school for the blind that different kinds of seeing are equally valid. He still asks Clara questions via video call, about colors he's experiencing, about the ocean he wants to visit, about whether dolphins see the world the way he does. She always answers. And I've learned that the measure of a life isn't what you can or cannot do. It's how fully you experience what you're given. Ethan will never see a sunset with his eyes, but he experiences beauty in ways most sighted people never will. Through music that carries color, through touch that reveals texture, through a presence so complete that every moment becomes an act of seeing. That's not compensation. That's transcendence. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt limited by someone else's definition of what's possible, I want you to know something. Different isn't broken. Adaptive isn't less than. The extraordinary often looks like limitation until someone teaches you to see differently. Be that person. For yourself. For the children in your life. For anyone who's been told their way of experiencing the world isn't valid. Celebrate the miracle of human adaptability. Question the narrow definitions of normal. Remember that some of the most remarkable capabilities emerge from challenges that force us to develop new ways of being. The maids of the world, the overlooked ones who notice what experts miss. We see potential where others see problems. We know that the brain rewires, that humans adapt, that vision is bigger than eyes. And sometimes, the greatest gift you can give a child isn't fixing them. It's teaching them that they were never broken to begin with. Subscribe if this story reminded you that miracles come in unexpected forms. That love means seeing people as they are. That the most extraordinary abilities often develop in the spaces where typical function fails. And that sometimes, the smallest voice in the room, the maid, the child, the overlooked one, sees truths that change everything. My son taught me to see. He did it without eyes. And that's the most remarkable vision of all.